Welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We're live in Abuja, the nation's capital. I'm Comfort Amadu with the news. The headlines. President Buhari inaugurates new international terminal in Lagos Airport, directs timely completion of Lekki Deep Sea Port. House of Representatives identifies refusal to use coins as legal tender as contributory factor to inflation. Nigerian Export Promotion Council launches trade house in Egypt. Let's bring you details of the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed the conviction that his administration's drive towards achieving self-sufficiency in food production in the country will be enhanced as farming gets value addition, with the expected rise of new breed of agripreneurs. This is while inaugurating the new $2.5 billion Dangote fertilizer plant in Lagos, described as Africa's largest granulated urea fertilizer complex and the second largest of such plants in the world. State House correspondent Dadu Musambo reports.
Situated on 500 hectares of land in Epeju, Lekki, the Dangote fertilizer plant has an installed capacity to produce in its first phase 3 million metric tons of urea per annum. Amongst other expected benefits are the reduction in Nigeria's dependence on importation of fertilizer, creating jobs on a massive scale, increasing the inflow of foreign exchange and accelerating economic growth.
The new plant will make Nigeria self-sufficient in fertilizer production with excess capacity to export to other African markets and the rest of the world. It is an ambitious developmental project which will drastically reduce the level of unemployment and youth restiveness in this country through generation of direct and indirect employment.
For President Muhammadu Buhari, the plant is a renewed testament to the widely acknowledged patriotic disposition of Aliko Dangote, as well as a demonstration of commitment to the socio-economic development of the country and the well-being of its people.
The coming on stream of the plant will create significant wealth, reduce poverty, and help in securing the future of our nation. I highly commend Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who helped to rebrand Nigeria through his mega investments across Africa. I am proud of his contribution to affirming Nigeria's leadership status in the continent.
With fertilizer now readily available in greater quantities and better quality, many Nigerians who hitherto practiced subsistence farming due to lack of necessary inputs can now take up agriculture as a truly paying business and make the nation self-sufficient in food production.
Let me assure all Nigerians that our government is focused on providing an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. We will continue to improve on infrastructure, power, and security, and enact relevant laws and regulations that will drive investments in the economy. As we look to the future endeavors of Dangote Group, it will be my pleasure to come back to inaugurate the refinery and petrochemical plant later in the year.
For me, it's how do we replicate several Aliko Dangote in our midst? How do we ensure that indeed we can put other Aliko Dangote in other parts of this country and they can indeed domesticate all of these great initiatives?
President Muhammadu Buhari and other invited guests, including Senate President Ahmed Lawan, Speaker Femi Bajabiamila, several governors, and the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, later undertook a guided tour of the Dangote fertilizer plant, which has already started exporting its product to other countries, including United States, India, and Brazil. Also inspected were the multi-billion-dollar 650,000 barrels per day petroleum refinery and the 900,000 tons per annum polypropylene plant. And before leaving the Lekki Free Trade Zone, President Muhammadu Buhari assessed the level and quality of the ongoing construction work at the Lekki Deep Sea Port project being executed by the Federal Ministry of Transportation. When completed as planned in September this year, the West Africa's deepest port will have an estimated aggregate impact of $361 billion over a concession period of 45 years. Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi had told the president that nearly 170,000 jobs will be created from its operations, while over $200 billion is expected to be realized from taxes, royalties, and duties. From Lagos, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And still from Lagos, the Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning and that of the FCT have been directed to do whatever it takes lawfully regarding to fast-track the execution of the second runway project for the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave the directive while inaugurating the new international terminal building for the Lagos airport, said the airport concession program must also be carried out expeditiously. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again brings us details.
Inherited at 11% level of completion, the new terminal building for the Lagos International Airport is one of the 5 similar projects vigorously pursued by the Buhari presidency as part of its new aviation roadmap. 2 of them for Abuja and Port Harcourt international airports have already been completed and put to use. The one in Kano has also been completed, while that of Enugu will soon be finalized. The new Lagos International Airport terminal building has, amongst others, 66 check-in counters, 44 immigration decks, and 8 security screening points for enhanced operations and management services to 14 million passengers per annum.
Mr. President, I would like to respectfully assure you and the general public that the ministry is committed to proper maintenance of all terminal buildings and will integrate them with the infrastructure to ensure that passengers and other users have pleasant experiences each time they make use of these edifices. Mr. President is aware of the recent chaos in the sector caused by lack of Jet A1. Flights were unduly delayed and all cancelled unpleasantly. I wish to use this medium to humbly request Mr. President to direct the NNPC to import Jet A1 in good quantities, as well as directing the central bank to allocate foreign exchange for the major marketers to sustain the supply.
This aviation terminal will elevate the international image of Nigeria, more profit to the business and more benefit to the people.
President Muhammadu Buhari takes pride in the fact that the continuous investment in the building of long-lasting infrastructure by his administration in the aviation and other critical sectors of the economy is yielding massive results, and Nigerians tremendously benefiting from the associated dividends.
With the delivery of this project, a new era of safety, security, and comfort has been ushered into the Nigerian aviation industry, and I am persuaded that it will get better with the passage of time.
And determined to ensure that the unprecedented growth in the aviation sector is not stunted, the president insists that the airport concession program be speedily executed, so also the second runway project for the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja.
The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning has been directed to source sufficient funding for the project, while the Minister of FCT is directed to conclude the tie of the approved 12,000 hectares of land to accommodate the runway and other development projects.
During the ceremony, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the federal and Lagos state governments on what they described as perimeter expressway, aimed at providing lasting solution to the traffic gridlock along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway.
What we're about to do is about opening up, other alternative routes that will bring people onto this airport, that will make communication and that will make journey time into this airport, an experience that will be delightful and it will be enjoyable to each and every one of us.
President Muhammadu Buhari has since returned to Abuja. Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed satisfaction with the efforts of the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, towards making the Lekki deep-sea port a reality and directed him to consult and bring up a memorandum to the Federal Executive Council to link the facility with the rail network. The President, while inspecting work done at the first deep-sea port in Lagos, received assurances that the port, which has a concession period of 45 years and sits in a land area of 90 hectares, will be completed on schedule by September. More than 50,000 children orphaned by Boko Haram insurgency are spread in internally displaced persons camps across the northeastern part of the country. Governor Babagana Zulum and the Sultan of Sokoto described this as a time bomb, advocating immediate attention of all stakeholders to prevent it from exploding. State House correspondent Jide Monifade reports.
It is really amazing how these children have been transformed from the state of hopelessness to the ones people now look onto to change the narrative in the northeast of Nigeria. And this is happening in just 5 years.
Thank you so much.
This is an initiative that was initiated and created by the Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2016. And we all felt very honored to join him in ensuring that this project runs so well.
The project is the Northeast Children Trust and the establishment of a learning center launched by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo as a private sector initiative to address the mental, emotional, and educational needs of children displaced or orphaned by the Boko Haram insurgency in the Northeast.
I think ultimately service to the people is what our being in government is about. Also, I want to really commend Governor Zulum and, of course, his predecessor, Governor Shetima, for the great work they've done.
5 years down the line, this initiative is yielding the expected fruit as the children are now dreaming big.
To become a computer program.
If you imagine and look to Nigeria, you decide to be a doctor.
As you can see, this is the code we use in designing the website.
Anyone of you is interested for a web application, please don't hesitate to contact the Northeast Children Trust Programming.
Governor Babagana Zulum and the Sultan of Sokoto, while commending the initiator of the project and other partners, want more Nigerians to come on board to assist the traumatized children.
Well-meaning Nigerians to look into the possibility of establishing more schools in Borno State, not only in Borno State, in the Northeast, and also in the entire northern region, because we need them. Education is a game changer.
The governors, the federal government, the various philanthropists don't leave these children in the IDP camps to grow up because it's a very big danger.
5 years on, I cannot say our job is done, but I can say that our commitment remains as strong as day one.
Captain of the anniversary cake is Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and wife, Dolako, and are being supported by dignitaries, the staff, and pupils of the school.
In Abuja, Jide Monifade, NTA News.
The news at 10 is coming to you live on NTA News 24 Abuja. We'll be bringing you more reports shortly.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms. For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles: Twitter at NTA News 24, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers. NTA News 24, news and more news. Good to have you back. The non-domestication of the Ecowas revised treaty and protocols on the establishment of Ecowas Community Court has been identified as one of the challenges of the court. Stakeholders in the judicial sector in the West African sub-region made the submission at the opening of the 11th external session of the Ecowas Community Court in Accra, Ghana. Judiciary correspondent Dele Atumbi reports.
The Ecowas Community Court is a sub-regional court established by the Ecowas Protocol in 1991, with the judges of the court being sworn in 10 years after. The court has jurisdiction over 4 matters relating to economic integration in the West African sub-region, including fundamental rights. The headquarters of the court is situated in Abuja, Nigeria. The external session of the court is aimed at ensuring speedy dispensation of justice with the intention of meeting the needs of indigent litigants.
I'm, however, aware of the concerns of many stakeholders regarding the reduction of the number of judges of the court from 7, as provided for in its initial protocol, to the current number of 5. I believe that it will be appropriate to have a second look at the decision in order to review the merits of restoring the composition of the court to 7 members.
May I also point out that we have challenges regarding the enforcement of the judgments of our court by the national courts, arising mainly from the fact that member states are yet to domesticate the Ecowas revised treaty and the protocols on the court.
The court, I believe, requires an adequate number of judges to discharge its functions very effectively. Again, it would be necessary to review the 4 years non-renewable tenure of the members of the court to enable the community to derive maximum benefits from their wealth of experience.
In the next 2 weeks, over 60 matters will be attended to by the court. From Accra, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And back home, Senate says it would take a decision on the nullification of Section 84, subsection 12 of the amended Electoral Act 2022, while the Federal High Court, Umuahia. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko has more on this.
Tuesday's plenary, Senator George Thompson Sekibo, through a motion of privilege, observed that the ruling of the Federal High Court, Umuahia, nullifying Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act, infringes on the constitutional functions of the Senate. He moved that the matter be discussed and for the legislators to decide whether to appeal the judgment.
That this Senate look into this matter and discuss it and take a stand on it. So whether we are to appeal on the matter.
So first we'll have executive session, then we'll come back to make decision. We'll be willing to deal with this issue tomorrow. Those in favor that we take this motion tomorrow say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The bill that seeks to establish the National Integrated Infrastructure Coordinating Commission for the facilitation of public infrastructure development in Nigeria, sponsored by Senator Sadiq Omar. The Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission Act Amendment Bill by Senator Uche Ekwunife, and the Quarantine Act repeal and the reenactment of the Port Health Emergency Act, sponsored by Senator Chukwuka Otazi, passed second reading.
Also provides for the identification and implementation of strategic integrated projects. This is just another attempt to create a bureaucracy that will continue to put a bleed on the taxpayer.
To protect that very critical sector of our nation's economy from unfair competition.
And efficient management, administration and operation of Port Health Authority and disease surveillance at all points of entry in Nigeria.
Senate, through a motion by Senator Bio Barakuma Degere, urged the Inspector General of Police to investigate cases of brutality against Nigerians by foreign firms operating in Nigeria.
On the 22nd of February 2022, the 2 citizens of Nigeria and the Shadian were brutalized in a fashion so repugnant on allegation of theft of iron rods, which ultimately led to the death of the latter.
I want to believe that this is a case of murder and it should be treated as such with all the attendant penalties.
The bill that seeks to prohibit the abuse of army color passed first reading. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The House of Representatives says the refusal by businesses and persons to use coins as legal tender is one of the contributory factors to inflation, as prices of goods and services are summed to the nearest naira equivalent. Let's get details from National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali, who reports that the House also asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to reinforce the use of coins.
In the motion from Muda Lawal Umar, the House noted that the federal government expends huge sums to have coins produced as legal tender, but banks and businesses have over time refused using the various coins denominations, arguing that other countries utilize coins in transactions and wondered why the experience is different in Nigeria.
Injecting lower denominations and coins into the economy will go a long way in curbing price inflation and stabilizing the economy.
Plenary featured the second reading of Nigeria's Startup Bill, which seeks creation and development of the right environment for technology-enabled startups in view of potentials of job creation and growing the economy.
About $1.4 billion has been invested in the startup sector.
No country can grow without technology. Those who are in the space of technological advancement require it. Startup means encouraging them, giving them funding. That will enable us to grow.
Also passed at second reading is the bill to amend the Northeast Development Commission Act from Mansour Soro and Khadija Bukar, and the bill to establish Federal College of Nursing and Midwifery Zaki Biam, Benue State, sponsored by Richard Bandi. 7 bills were read the third time and passed, while the bill seeking the establishment of Nigeria Rural Healthcare Trust Fund was among the 10 bills that passed first reading. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And in the meantime, 5 health-related bills and 12 motions, including the one that seeks to establish Nigerian Food Vendors Biodata Coalition Agency, expected to capture and train public food vendors for the safety of members of the public, have been put for public scrutiny. National Assembly correspondent Dayo Ogunshola reports.
It is another round of public scrutiny of proposed legislations aimed at building an enduring health infrastructure that is resilient enough to cope with the emerging global health challenges. Speaker, House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila represented, cautioned that in view of the current economic realities, the bills should be considered without additional financial burden to the federal government.
We must not allow substantive debate about necessary policy actions to be overwhelmed by outdated
civilian democracy, but must be seen to be an objective and also a fundamental human rights issue in the country. And therefore it becomes necessary for the government to provide a minimum basic package for average Nigerians.
How do you regulate the megeda, the medanwake, the people saying apu? Are these people required by statutory to go and get NABDA before you do alele? Moi moi.
Good intention of this bill and will adapt its content to strengthen the existing board and agency already performing these functions. Therefore, it is the ministry's considered view that the bill is not necessary.
Meanwhile, House Committee on Finance said it would do status inquiry of revenue generation of the National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. This was when the agency appeared before the committee investigating remittances of revenue-generating agencies of government. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council has implemented 150 reforms that has moved Nigeria up 30 places on the World Bank Doing Business Index since 2016. The minister disclosed this in Lagos when he visited Sheikh Toleram Foundation, a charity organization that provides access to healthcare, quality education and skills training. Anthony Forson reports.
The Information and Culture Minister said the reforms are responsible for Nigeria being named twice as one of the top 10 most improved economies in the world in the last 3 years, making it one of the only 2 African countries to make the list.
A long time ago, in order to register a company, you have to travel from Lagos, from Aba, from Port Harcourt to Abuja. Today, you can stay in your office to register a company just online. This was some of the, remarkable improvements that has been made by this administration, all in an attempt to improve the business environment.
To this end, the 2018 Subnational Doing Business Report on Nigeria recorded an unprecedented improvement, and the World Economic Forum in 2018 Global Competitive Report recognized Nigeria's business environment as one of the most entrepreneurial in the world.
I have no doubt that PEBEC will continue to work hard to dismantle the obstacles to easing the business environment in Nigeria. As more businesses spring up, more Nigerians will be employed and their quality of life will improve.
On the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari, Lai Mohammed said it stands as Nigeria's most significant business legislation in 30 years. The collaboration between PEBEC and the National Assembly on Secured Transaction in Movable Assets Act of 2017 and the Credit Reporting Act, also of 2017, provides a collaboration of movement of assets through the National Collateral Registry. The minister commended Ishq Touram Foundation for its programs in Nigeria. The director, Ishq Foundation, Neha Mehra, said the foundation collaborates with churches, mosques, hospitals, and NGOs to reach out to beneficiaries. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
News at 10 is broadcast live on NTA News 24. More reports in a moment. Stay with us.
Hello, it's a warm welcome to Sports Radio, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And give George.
Everything is architected and designed by the Almighty.
Someone who is a Christian is someone who lives a life of
Christ.
Jesus Christ. And the life of Jesus Christ is a life of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Political cartoons gained relevancy during the Civil War, when artist Thomas Nast created some of the most instantly recognizable images in U.S. politics, including Uncle Sam, the Republican elephant, and the Democrat donkey. Today, political cartoons remain a staple of newspapers' editorial globally. Hello, and it's nice to have you join me on another exciting edition of Video Impressions on NTA. I am Uma Mohammed. Now you'll be viewing some very, very creative and genius pictures, and in approximately 4 seconds only, it should be too hard on the face. And when that happens, it means the artist has been successful in passing the message. Let's take a look. Political cartoons are an integral component in the framework of political journalism. They offer a brightly colored alternative to formal news reporting, providing light relief for the ever-increasingly gloomy political discourse. The images can cast a powerful interpretation on the day's news.
I studied economics, Abuja area. Basically, what I do as an artist is self-taught. It's something I started doing right from childhood, like most artists. And I never actually planned to become an editorial cartoonist or an illustrator. It was just something I had passion for. I was just into it. And I never had any formal training in this. But the love I have for arts and, you know, the desire to express myself, you know, I kept searching, I kept learning things on my own and so on.
Bulama grows cartoons for a living. He is a staff cartoonist for Media Trust, a Nigerian newspaper outlet with headquarters in Abuja. His cartoons and illustrations are currently published in the Saturday and Sunday edition of Daily Trust newspapers.
I decided to study economics. One, I wasn't really sure what to study at the end of my, secondary school. Coming from a Muslim home, you know, art is not something that is really encouraged, right? Yeah, from the religious point of view and all of that. So there are a lot of conditions to that. So I guess that's one. And then secondly, for me growing up, I didn't have mentors, you know, people to look up to. And I guess my parents didn't have that as well, you know, like role models to say, okay, I want my son to be like that artist, because most of our parents will want us to be successful. So we look at the doctors, the engineers. These are the people our society say are successful. So obviously, most parents will want their kids to go, you know, that line. So at the end of it, the secondary school thing, I decided that I wanted to do animation. I wanted to go into animation, 3D animation and all of that. But there was no university offering that as a course, you know. I didn't want to go into, you know, paintings and sculptures. That's not what I'm really interested in. I was more interested in comic books and then probably animations. And I couldn't find anything like that. So honestly, I just looked at my results and I had the best grade in economics. I decided, okay, I'm going to study economics, which was a very big mistake for me because I wasn't good in maths. I didn't know I was going to meet a lot of maths in the university. So I did that and I had to struggle to complete the course.
Political cartoons consist of 5 common persuasive techniques, which are exaggeration, labeling,
symbolism, analogy, and irony, which can all be found as the major component of Mustafa Bulama's cartoon.
Political cartoons or political cartoonists are not rare in Nigeria. They've been around. The likes of Jose Ajiboye, Professor Dele Jegede, and all of that. They've been around 70s, 80s, all around. Perhaps in northern Nigeria, it's not very common. Never had any formal education. Never sat down in a classroom to learn editorial cartoons. It was something I learned on my own. I bought books, I went online and, like on YouTube and all sorts of, wherever I can get information. And I follow a lot of cartoonists around the world to see what they're doing. And then I got better as I was actually doing it, I started as an editorial cartoonist in 2008. So although I've been with the media right from 2000, but as an editorial cartoonist, I started in 2008. That's about 12 years and so on. So that's what I want to pass on to people. Whatever you want to do, you have to put your head into it and take your time and learn. And it doesn't happen in a day, right? As an artist, not a cartoonist, an artist, I started drawing, I think, when I was like 4 years old. So right from childhood was something I was doing, and like that I kept on growing. And then as an editorial cartoonist, now we're talking about just a little bit over a decade. So it didn't just happen. Sometimes what I've noticed with some of youth is they want it to just happen like that. I want to become like you today. But there are a lot of things you have to learn. You have to be patient. You have to persevere, and so on. And I think this is a medium. It's a channel where you can actually express yourself. You can say a lot of things, even if you are not talking to the government. You could talk to people. You could bring social change. You could do a lot of things with this skill, right? So education, information, whatever it is, with this skill is something you can actually do. If one understands the nature of the work, then you should expect people to also express themselves, so because basically what you're doing as an editorial cartoonist, you're expressing an opinion. Okay, something happens in the country, maybe something is in the news and so on. You read the news and then you express your own opinion about that subject matter. And people may accept it or reject it. After all, it's an opinion. There's this tendency for a cartoon to actually attract attention. People always want to see what is it about. So because of that, people will get to see your opinion, people will get to read your opinions about whatever it is you are talking about. Some of these opinions are not unique. Maybe there are opinions that people share. But because you are the one expressing it and probably other people have not seen other people's opinion, for some, they may think this is just you.
Bulama says the main advantage of a political cartoon is being able to communicate an opinion very quickly. In these cartoons, for example, Bulama was inspired by the security crisis that has rocked the country in the past decade. Since the beginning of time, editorial cartoons have been framing issues and framing debate. It has always been a part of every country's way of freely expressing ideas and debates.
For Nigeria, a lot of things happen almost all the time. So the tough time will be for me to actually decide which of the issues to actually talk about. You see, for example, if I'm going to talk about the level of insecurity going on in Nigeria, I think my whole cartoons will all end up on just me saying things about insecurity. But sometimes it hurts, because for me to come up with a cartoon, I have to read the story, I have to understand what the story is. So because of that, I get to go into the details of a lot of the issues that are happening, and that can be troubling. You're always reading bad news here and there, all of that. Sometimes I try to find something a little bit light. Sometimes I even try to find something positive. I say, please, can we have something positive? I look so hard and it's so difficult. You see a lot of negative things happening and a lot of people are suffering. And you can't just pretend these things are not there. There's this particular cartoon I did that was very, I find it's a very interesting cartoon, because it gives a kind of a narration, a kind of both sides. Maybe if you're looking at what the government is doing and you're looking at what the people are seeing. So there's this wall. We have the government say, okay, we're doing this project, we've invested in this, we've done this, we've done that. But there's this huge wall of insecurity, of poverty, of unemployment that is standing between the people and what the government is doing. Most of these things the government is doing probably are things that the people would hopefully enjoy in the coming years. But currently, as people are living now, right, people are not safe, people are being killed, people are suffering the poverty rates and all sorts of things, unemployment. People are not ready to see those things that the government is planning for maybe in the next 5-10 years, a decade or so. They're trying to live their lives today.
He draws his inspirations from works of many artists, His favorites are Zapido, Gado, Jason Saylor, and Albert Uderzo, a French comic book artist best known for co-creating and illustrating of Asterix series.
Ils ne veulent plus travailler.
Favorite cartoon. Favorite. I love all cartoons. What else? If they are cartoon, I will sit down and watch.
First political cartoon appeared in Benjamin Franklin newspaper, the Pennsylvania Gazette, on the 9th day of May 1754. It appeared as a part of the editorial by Franklin, commenting on the present disunited state of the British colonies. One of the people Bulama got inspired by is Dele Jagede, who began his professional career in Nigeria as a cartoonist and painter. He was a contemporary of Jose Ajiboye, who focused mainly on social genre. Jagede used his cartoons to comment on excesses of the privileged and drew attention to social and political issues. Aderonke Adesanya, art historian and scholar of contemporary art of Africa, considers Jagede's cartoons as copious sketches of the skeleton of the nation. From 1974 to 1977, he was the art editor of the Daily Times of Nigeria. Jagede continued to publish weekly cartoons, a sister publication of the Daily Times, well into the late 1970s, when he left for graduate studies in Indiana University in the United States.
What I did there is to basically give the government a feedback, because if they look at it as feedback, right, of what people are saying, what people are feeling, so it shouldn't be a case of, say, antagonism or some kind of a fight with the government. No, they should take it as a feedback. Okay, this is what people are actually thinking. I've had some opinions that have drawn attention to me, like the one I did about what was it, last year, about Hanan and all of that. And interestingly, what people don't know is that opinion was not even like my opinion per se. It came out of something. And then suddenly we have her picture on Instagram, which she posted herself, right? Showing people this thing. And from there, people started making comments. I only expressed exactly what people are saying. Okay, you at the top there, you are showing us this, while we are down here, we are suffering. And it wasn't an extraordinary cartoon. For me, it's not even one of my best cartoons. Cartoons that have very little, maybe text or very little information, and yet people get it, get what you are saying. You don't have to explain so much. And for me, those are the kind of cartoons that I really cherish. Recently, I did one that I really liked. It was so simple and so straightforward. Unfortunately, it still has to do with the wedding issue and all of that. I just drew two phones, just two iPhones, right? In 2014, a lot of people were talking about the gold-plated iPhones that President Jonathan's administration. I don't know. They gave it out maybe during a wedding or the president's daughter's wedding, and there was so much uproar and people were talking about it. It was an iPhone 6, and then here in 2021 we have iPhone 12 Pro. So times 2. I just drew the phones and what's on the phone. I didn't even say anything. Well, no, not exactly. I think drawings perhaps got me into trouble, but nothing too serious. You find out that whenever, my parents buy me maybe books for the term, the first one that will finish, is the drawing book. I will finish my drawing book the same day. Right? And then the colors and like that. Sometimes you open my drawer, you find a lot of papers, my exercise books. I tear my exercise books to draw and, things like that. Sometimes they try to stop me from drawing, to pay more attention to my books. So sometimes I'm drawing and I see my mom coming and I flip it and I start the multiplication, like that. When somebody has something, it's like it's a passion that somebody has, and I couldn't get rid of it. I tried to get rid of it, but it just kept following me. Best moment that I can remember right now, there was a time my father, my elder siblings, I think